So today I was playing the Esper control list. I got 4th place. These two decks are actually the same, so you can see that video on the screen. I'll put a link to that video here. But yeah, these two decks are actually the same, and I do not have all the cards for Bat Nexus, and I don't have enough wild cards to craft it. So I'll be doing the Bat Nexus one later. So I decided to go with the Esper control list because it was the 4th. As you can see here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the top 16. And I think that's only one in the top 8. The rest were in the top 16. And basically a lot of the cards here, Thought Erasure, Duress, Carnarium, Vraska's Contempt, Chemister Insight, Dovin, Veto. The list I ran didn't have Thief of Sanity, but some other lists do. I have Teferi, I have one of these in the sideboard, and I run Narset. So all these cards are basically in the Esper lists. Okay, so starting at the top, we have 2 Search for Azcantas. This is pretty standard in Esper decks, because the second one is just redundant, but the first one is really good. And this is one of the ways you generate card advantage, because you're drawing a second good card each turn, either counterspell or removal. So this is what keeps you ahead once you're ahead. 2 Cast Down and 1 Moment of Craving. So Cast Down just hits more targets, but Moment of Craving is better against aggressive decks. This hits bigger creatures that some red and white aggressive decks hit, while this gains you life and also kills a creature. 2 Dovin's Veto. This is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought it was just a better negate, but the fact that it can't be countered is really relevant, like in the metagame or against Nexus decks where they have a lot of counter spells. So just 2 mana be able to counter their Reclamation or their Nexus of Fate is really relevant. 4 Thought Erasures, again standard in this and the Grixis deck. Thought Erasure is just probably one of the better 2-drops. You get a filter for lands or spells if you need them, and you also get to take care of any big problem cards that might come down later. 1 Narset. This was really good. There was actually several times where opponents forgot about the clause where they can't draw more than 1 card each turn. We got him. And someone else tapped out for a Hydroid Crisis, and they promptly drew 0 cards on their main phase. 2 Carnarium, similar to the Grixis deck, it helps clear with a lot of early creatures. 3 Absorb. Again, this deck runs Absorb over the one that lets you scry, because the 1 white doesn't really matter because of the land, because of the mana base, and the 3 life is really relevant. A lot more relevant than the scry. We already have enough filter with Search for Azcanta and Teferi. Thought Erasure as well helps you filter. So the life is often much more relevant than scrying 1. 1 Teferi. So this is good. You can bounce some tokens with this. And it's also really good against Control or Nexus decks because they can't do anything with their Wilderness Reclamation mana at the end of turn. And it shuts down all counter spells. So counter spells have to be cast in response to you, which means you cannot play counterspells at sorcery speed, so it turns off all their counterspells. I've often either sided this out or in, so it's either really good or it's not something you really want. Mortify, again, this is just some more removal, and it also hits Search for Azcantas and Wilderness Reclamations. And against white decks, it hits their exile target permanent if they hit your Planeswalkers. So it's not a completely dead card against some other decks. And I often keep this in even against Control because it does hit Search for Azcanta. Chemister's Insight. This card is kind of like 2-in-1, where it's kind of like having 6 copies if you only run 3. So you don't really need 4 because you can play it, like I said, up to 6 times each game anyways. It turns your removal into draw spells against Control, and it turns extra lands or expensive spells into cheaper spells on land. And against aggressive decks, I'll often side this out because by the time you have enough mana to play this and live, you don't really need it. More removal is better than this. Vraska's Contempt, again, hits Planeswalkers, which is more relevant now than it was before. I think other Esper decks I've played before War of the Spark only had either 1 or 2 main decked and a couple more in the sideboard. But this main decking 3, you can't go wrong. 2 life, it's relevant against aggressive decks. Pick up their big creature that your Wrath might not have if you played Cry the Canarium. 3 Kai's Wrath, so this is up to the 5th board wipe in addition to Cry the Canarium. 4 Teferi, this was traditionally the main win con. With its -3, you basically just put Teferi back on top of your deck and prevent from milling yourself. And that used to be the win condition, but now the new Planeswalker Liliana is the new win condition. And this kind of took the place of, let's see if I can find it here. So Liliana here took the place of Eldest Reborn, where you can get your opponent to sacrifice their Carnage Tyrant. It doesn't make them discard a card, but that really wasn't super relevant. And it's another Planeswalker, which Eldest Reborn just got you a Teferi for Liliana, so this kind of just takes the place of the Eldest Reborn. Mana base, we have the Shockland variant and the Checkland variant of all 3 lands we have, so 4 of all of these. And then an island and a swamp. The swamp is here because you want 2 black to play Carnarium and Kaya's Wrath on curve. And the island is here because a lot of the counter spells, mostly Absorb, you want to play. And Narset now not so much, but it helps you play Narset on curve as well. And you could swap these out for some more of the new tech lands. So you could swap these out for either Mobilized District as a win condition or Blast Zone. I've seen some lists play, which is fair, and it might be better as a win condition. Mobilized District kind of reminds you of Mutavault a couple of years ago. It was basically became a 2/2 for 1. This becomes a 3/3 for 4, but Vigilance so doesn't tap, while Mutavault you had to tap it to attack, and it's cheaper if you have Planeswalkers out. Well, this is just a 3/3. So this might be a win condition in the future. Proliferate's not going to be very relevant with the Planeswalkers because you have enough time to just tick them up naturally anyways on Teferi. Now Blast Zone might be good. We might see this added to Esper lists, and I might try playing with it, but for now I just copied and pasted the list from the Star City games. And here in the sideboard we have 3 Duress. I bring these in against mono red and control matchups just to take out their burn and to take counter spells and other pieces from other control decks. And you just take out a lot of removal against control, and this is what comes in. Dreadhorde Invasion also comes in against control decks or Nexus of Fate, stuff like that, because they'll often side out all the removal, and you play this and they often don't have a way to deal with it, and you can often just win with this. I don't bring it against aggro because it just burns you for 1 every turn. That's not what you want, and even if you block, you're just chump blocking with a 1/1 on their 2/2 or 3/3, and you're still you're still bleeding damage. So just more removal is better than this against aggressive decks. Moment of Craving, this is just to bring some of the more expensive removal down to 2 and make the life gain more relevant. Again, for aggressive decks. These also against control decks and Nexus of Fate. Hostage Taker against mid-range or decks with green in general. You can steal a lot of tempo, either taking their Wild Growth Walker or one of the guys that explore, and then explore yourself, get the value out of that, and then chump block to gain life, or even trade with some of their creatures. One Enter the God Eternals. I would have liked to see more, but there's really not much space here with all the other good cards we have. And this I'd bring in against aggressive decks, and sometimes this would even be a win condition where I'd kind of be able to shoot their thing and ride the 4/4 to victory. If I need to take out some Teferis, I could ride this to victory as well. And then another Liliana, again just for more sacrifice against Carnage Tyrant, and just another way to win against control decks. So that's the list. I'll pull up my results here. So again, I played 10 games. I went 5-5 again in the matches, but in the games, I only have a 46% win rate. I won 12 games and lost 14. So I often lost 0-2, and when I won, it was usually 2-1. This deck takes a lot longer than the Grixis deck. So in terms of just enjoyment, I like the Grixis deck a lot more, because when you won with the Grixis deck, it feels like you won, like you feel like you're beating them down. Where this, if you win, it feels like, oh, like finally, like you barely just eked it out. It takes a while to build up enough zombies through Liliana, or just mill them with Teferi, or was the sideboard. This was actually a beatdown when I did get this to work and win with it. I think I won every game I played it too, which was like 2 or 3 games. So this is a beating, and these 2 are beatings as well. Hostage Taker wasn't a beating. I took something and I think I traded 2 for 2. So I kind of got 2 for 1, or I guess 3 for 1, because I took his creature and then traded with his creature. So that was just value, and these are, I'd never beat down with this. But I did with the Grixis deck, and it's, it feels like you're winning. While with this deck, you're kind of just eking out a victory every time. And it's very slow. It took me, I didn't time it, but it took me a lot longer. I think the games were between 20 and 30 minutes on average. Longer games would take longer. Like the ones I won would take forever, at least 30 minutes. And when I lost, it would take about 20 minutes for the 2 games I'd take to lose. So that's the 4th deck. That was the 4th place deck in the Star City games. And next, I'm going to be playing this Azorius aggro deck, so you can look for that in the next couple of days. And I already have it built, and I'm basically, after this is uploaded, I'm going to start playing with this. And again, once I hit 10 games, I'll make another video, or since this is aggro, I might be able to play more in a reasonable time. So if I can, I'll get up to 20 or 30 games, and then see how I've done since then. Also, I'll say in the description, you can find links to all this. I'll be linking to this deck, where you can see how much it costs if you want to buy it on Magic Online or on paper, or if you're looking to craft it, how many wild cards you need. And this is the exact list I've been playing. You can see it all here laid out. And yeah, thanks for watching.